Hello, I'm Jane Duncan Rogers of BeforeIGoSolutions.com, and we specialise in helping people to make good end-of-life plans, and today that's in collaboration with 60andMe. So one of the most common questions that we get asked is, what happens when I die? Now, I'm going to touch on this subject with pointers about how you can move forward in two areas, that's the physical and the spiritual today, because of course it covers both areas. That's because we have a body and we have a spirit, if that's one of your beliefs. So let's look at the physical stuff first of all. What happens to the body when you are dying? That's one aspect. And then the other aspect is what happens after the body has died. So first of all, the process of dying as a human being is natural and slow. It's normal to be like that. Think of the life cycle of a flower, and here is a flower to show you. So we have a little bud. Starts off as a bud, new life. It blossoms into a beautiful rose. Isn't that gorgeous? And then naturally, this is another one just to show you here, naturally it begins to die and the petals wither and fall off, and that's all normal. And our bodies do the same thing. They begin to get older and they begin to shrivel up, if you like the petals, and then they don't exactly drop off, do they? But things start to not work, and all of this is the normal part of the life cycle. The equivalent, if you like, of our petals dropping off is that people start to become less interested in the outside world. Their organs start to not work so well, they're not so efficient. People have less energy, they're more fatigued, and so they sleep more maybe, and they have a smaller appetite, so they want to eat less. Naturally, we give people food and drink, and it's a symbol of life, isn't it? So if one of our friends or family members are not eating and drinking, then that can be quite a challenge. But towards the end of life, that is normal. It's absolutely normal. And that's why you'll find people saying, or turning their head to the wall. You know that old expression? Turning their head to the wall. They're not interested anymore. Their life has started to become smaller and smaller. And I saw this with my mum when she was dying. She stopped being interested in going outside, even just to the local shops. She became just wanting to go into her garden. And then after a while, even though she loved her garden, she didn't want to do that anymore. She just wanted to be able to look out the window at it, enjoy the birds and the flowers that way. And this is all completely normal. So the body, when you're really near to death, like days or hours maybe, the breathing can become irregular. That's normal too. And you might even hear somebody having the death rattle. This is the noise that is made from the throat when you can't swallow anymore, so you can't swallow the secretions that are there naturally. It sounds a bit horrible from the people around, but actually it's a normal thing and it isn't causing pain to the person. But and that's really important to know, that this is all the ordinary way of dying. It's kind of gentle, actually. So the thing I think to remember is that everybody is still alive right up until they have their last breath. And you never know when that last breath is going to be, because there is a breath and then there's a long period of time and you realise there isn't another one coming, and that means that they have died. Now, that's when something else shifts, and when people say something like, there's no one at home, or I could tell that they were dead, or that it looked like him, but actually it wasn't him anymore. That's how I felt when my husband had died. I was with him at the time, and within a few minutes of him dying, I could see that it was his body. It looked exactly like him, but it wasn't him anymore. It was strange. So what happens then when you're dead? Where do the dead people go? Well, we're curious, aren't we? And we want to know what happens when you die. In fact, that was one of the things that I really wanted to know when, after my husband died, I couldn't bear not knowing where he was. But I had to bear it. That's one of the things of being alive. We don't know, we're uncertain, and therefore we have beliefs and structures that help us to cope with this uncertainty. And that's one of the things that you get with religions. So, for example, different religions have different belief structures. So if you are a Christian, for example, you might believe that when you die you will meet Jesus Christ. If you are a Buddhist, you might believe that you will be reincarnated. If you're a Muslim, you'll believe that your body will have to be buried, not cremated, and that you're not allowed to have post-mortems, all sorts of beliefs around all the different religions. And these beliefs help us when we're alive. That's the point of them. They help us cope with life, and they help us cope with our ideas of what might happen when we're no longer alive. But there's another side to what happens when you die, and that is for those who are left behind, because there is going to be a body left behind, just like the rose petals that die, they fall off, they go into the ground, or maybe you put them in the compost. It doesn't really matter. That's the natural part of what happens, and it happens with human being bodies as well. So in Western society, we have different ways of dealing with bodies, which are usually burial or cremation. Although there is now body composting in a couple of states in America, so you might want to check that out. It's a new thing. I'm sure it's going to become more popular. But it does come back to beliefs, and it really helps when you're thinking about your own death to be aware or to have a belief that says that who you are is more than just this body. Really important that, because if you think that, then it's much easier to face up to your own end of life. It just means that in some way who you are, whatever that is, will carry on. So that is a kind of belief. It might be that you have a belief that there is nothing. Well, that's okay. No, you know, we don't know. It might be that you have a belief that you will be reincarnated into another body. It doesn't really matter what your belief is, because there's really only one group of people that knows what happens when after you've died, and that is the people who are dead. And despite people who have near-death experiences and who have died and they come back and they tell us what has happened, we can't know for sure that what happened to them would happen to us. So it means that we're back to beliefs again. So for instance, when I was a little girl, I was about 10 and our dog died, and my belief about this was that actually death was a big adventure. That if I died and I didn't know anything about it, then it wouldn't matter because I wouldn't know. So I chose to believe, even at that age, that it would be this big adventure and it would be great. And anyway, I would get to see my little dog again, and I was really happy about that. And I still believe that it will be a big adventure, no matter what happens. So I don't know it for sure, of course, like I said, but the belief helps me to live life here, right now, and peacefully, with the idea that it is going to come to an end at one point. So it's a lot easier to face up to the fact that your body will die one day, and it will no longer be here. And there are a lot of things that you can do to help you prepare for that and to prepare for what they call a good death. Now, we spend months and sometimes years preparing for births and weddings. We expect people to plan for funerals or end of life within a few days. I mean, it is a bit mad, that. And that's where end of life planning turns out to be a great gift that you can give to your family and to yourself, of course. But as I said, your beliefs really help in this regard. So let me leave it today by asking you a couple of questions. How do your beliefs help you in relationship to living your life right now? And what do you think happens to your body when you die? I hope you found this helpful, and thanks so much for watching. If you like it, please put a thumbs up down below or subscribe to the channel if you're not already a subscriber. And yes, I hope you go forward into your day today thinking about your beliefs about death and how they can contribute to you living your life right now.